Tango One podcast.
Now is the time to take action. Now's the time to do more and be more.
So, welcome to the Tango One podcast. Tony Smith, your host, and today I am with Jac Cordeiro. She's a longtime friend of mine. We went to high school together and have kind of stayed in touch since. She's an ER nurse, a fitness competitor, a published fitness model, a writer, and an entrepreneur at JackFit.ca. Most importantly, she's a mother of two beautiful girls, single mother, which we're going to talk about today. So episode overview, we like to talk about fitness, wellness, some of you competing, raising strong women, being a strong woman.
Awesome.
And confidence, and then whatever else comes up. So thanks for being on the show.
My pleasure. It's an honor to be here. When Tony asked me to come on, I was more than 100% in, ecstatic, and probably, you know what, I think it's long overdue. I think that we both were kind of going through a journey with our career choices from what we kind of picked and just started venturing off into our passions. And I think that's probably why I was so drawn to want to come on here. Because, and social media does kind of benefit you in a way where you get to see people grow. You know, it's not always about the delusional, maybe the perception. Some of it actually can be good, used for the good.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I ran into you in the, we probably hadn't seen each other in years, maybe in passing or something in LaSalle. We went
in the hospital a couple of times.
Yeah, ran into the ER here and there, and obviously saw you were in great shape, but I really didn't know much about it. You'd be so busy. I would not be busy. I'd be sitting there watching some mental health patient waiting, trying to get you guys to release me. But I didn't really know a lot about you other than that and what had gone on in your life. And then I probably wouldn't have really known anything from there to here had it not been for social media and that kind of connection.
Yep, for sure.
So let's start there. Let's just start with a little bit with your background. So, high school, ER nurse, wherever you want to start.
Oh, geez, where do I start? I don't know. Okay, I guess what a lot of people don't know about me is that I am a mother of two beautiful girls, Bella and Savannah. They're grade 4 and 5. They're my world. They're my absolute motivation, hands down, every single morning. But let's be honest, parenting can be challenging, so It's not all roses. But no, so things that maybe I can mention just to give people a little bit of background. I was born and raised in LaSalle, close to you, obviously in the neighborhood. Always was very athletic, always in sports. I had two older brothers, so I was always trying to play catch up or, meet up or kick their butt kind of thing, right? It was competitive upbringing. Went to school, played sports, and Tony, you can attest that, that whole concept of being involved in sports in high school really grounds you and, you're focused.
Yeah.
So you want to do more as you get older. So, but as a female, what does a female do? Maybe play rec soccer after university when you're done playing soccer or any sport.
Never really thought about it like
right?
that.
No, like seriously, what else is there? Unless you get a scholarship, but if you're really passionate about fitness, what do you do? So I would just, I remember my dad got me a membership at a Good Life gym. And so just learned a lot. I read every single Oxygen magazine out there, every Inside, Muscle Tech, whatever. But just always had a strong passion for fitness and just always wanted to stay in shape. But it's a lot of, it's a learning curve, right?
Danny said when you're first coming in to use the gym for one of those shoots, I'm like, oh, do you remember Jack from LaSalle? She's like, oh, Jack Malash? Yeah, she used to kill everybody in sports. We were all scared of her. And I was like, really? I'm like, she seems so nice. She was on the late bus with me every day coming home. Remember the good old late bus?
Yeah, the late bus. You know what? Those are the good old days, Tony, the late bus. Okay. So, and Danny's awesome, by the way. I want to say she's a solid woman. She's motivating too as well. So good job. I think I should say, she won the prize, but no, I'd say you won the prize on that one.
Oh, whatever.
Whatever.
I get a lot of that, so don't worry.
I bet you do.
I'm used to it.
Anyways, back to that. So I was very competitive. And I've always been like, when I put my mind to something, especially when it comes to like a physical outlet, I've always used activity or physical activity as an outlet to handle stress or whatever. I remember my parents going through divorce as a young kid. I was always, very interested in sports, but I took up boxing at some point. I did taekwondo, like just things that like I needed to get so much mental clarity and focus out of things. Because what's the alternative? You make choices or you participate in things that probably aren't going to lead you down the right path, right? And I always knew that because my parents did a good job in letting me know that what you put in is what you're going to get out of it. So, just a lot of that. So, yeah, I could see maybe Danny and other girls going, there was a couple of yellow cards or red cards in my time. But, no, but you know what? I'd be the first person to help her up, too. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. So, it's not like,
So, when your father bought you the membership, was that like in high school, college, whatever that was after school for you? It
was when I started going to, I took police foundations first, and I think that's where you remember me at St. Clair. Yeah, okay. Then I switched over to become a nurse. Okay. So I kind of went to school twice. But the first time, I was like probably around 19 or 20 because I was doing the 1.5 mile run, doing the police testing, did all that. Right. You know, I think I was only interested to apply to policing because of the testing that you guys had. I'm just gonna throw it out there. No, I'm just joking. I found that the medical aspect of helping was more my thing. So that's kind of why. But gym membership. Learned how to kind of just, back then we didn't have YouTube or a device to show us how to do a deadlift. Right. I would ask probably the biggest dude in the gym, hey, what is that doing? Like literally. And then the funny thing is most guys, when any woman walks up or any young woman goes to a guy at the gym, they're probably thinking, hey, what's going on? No, she wants to get to my, I'm like, I'm not here for that. I want to learn how to, So then you end up building relationships kind of like the ones I had with my brothers so that they're, they see that you're interested and that you want to learn. And then that's how I would start to learn. And then when you're passionate about something, you just want to craft it. So weight training and lifting came really easy to me, or I shouldn't say easy, but it came to me because of my interest in it and the passion for it. But the nutrition aspect of the journey is the most important part of anyone's fitness journey, hands down, 100%. And I think that's why most of us that struggle with the lifestyle aspect of it is because they're just not learning how to feed their bodies properly. It doesn't mean that you have to be vegan. It doesn't mean I have to be plant-based or pesca-vegetarian or any kind of very specific type of nutrition or foodie. It has to do with, the intention of what you're feeding your body, when you're feeding it, why you're feeding it. Like ask yourself, connect with yourself, that kind of thing. So I think that was the game changer for me when I started really understanding that part of it. And that's why going from fit to what I feel now is every day I'm working on trying to become a better version of myself. But even now being 2.5 weeks out of competing at a show, you just need to know how to be able to be balanced so that you don't throw your body off so much that it's not going to want to work and connect with you. It's a connection thing, right? So
yeah, I agree 100%. And I think when we're younger, it's very easy to kind of skate on a lot of that nutrition and rely on, you had what we built. And that's one of the reasons why you look how you do, how I look how you do, and we're in our 40s is like we have this huge foundation of fitness through just being active children to weightlifting. And then, but now you can't really rely on that in your 40s. And even in my 30s and my late 20s is where I started to see you're like, oh man, I got to dial this in, and you have to be focused on what you're eating at all times. Right. Let's just talk about the competition a little bit, because I don't totally this is out of my, so if I'm being ignorant to it, I don't know. No, it's all good. So our fitness bikini is that the competition? Because that's what you listed as you've won that before. Yes. So what does that entail? Like, what is the difference between fitness bikini or there's all those different competitions, and to me looking from the outside in, I never know what the difference is. Yeah, no, and it's because it's truly it's a sport that people enter into that's very aesthetically driven for proportion, and I feel for not for perfection, but the most aesthetically pleasing physique. So whether that's bodybuilding, which most people know about, right? Then there's physique, which is a smaller scale of bodybuilding. Then there is for women, there would be wellness now as a new category. There's figure, which is you're kind of going down in the tier of how much muscle mass a female, for example, would have. In order to fit a certain look that the judges are looking for. Bikini fitness is probably considered the most proportion in terms of curves, not too muscular, feminine, but very much not skinny.
Not
I would
skinny.
Never describe that as skinny.
No, it would have to be you'd have to have, it's just very proportioned not too much muscle, but the right amount. They don't want to see striations. They don't want to see vascularity on stage. It's a softer look.
Okay.
For a bodybuilding, right? And then there's like that, they call it bikini fitness because the athletes are wearing like jeweled suits, and they're 2 pieces. So in the other categories, essentially they're connected either on the back or in some way, or more of a fuller piece suit. So, but yeah, this would be my 6th time competing. And the first time I competed, I did figure, which was 10 years. I don't know. It was 5 months after I had Bella.
Oof.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't. Looking back on that now, I think, and I'll be honest. Let's be candid. Like I don't do anything with the intention to half-ass. But you know what? It also probably was a way for me to kind of go through a postpartum thing. I set a focus and intention, because when you become a new mother, everything that you've ever known has changed. You prepare for it as you're pregnant and as you're doing everything for a greater purpose. So your sacrifice or your investment into a human being starts very, very early on. When the baby actually comes, it's a woman's presented with tons of hormones that she doesn't know how to deal with because she's never had them before. So that brings me back to my comment earlier. When I have stress or when I try to deal with something, I do something physical. And I had help from one of the most beautiful women, and I hope she listens to this, Robin Eve. I sought her out because I had seen a picture of her, and she competes in bodybuilding, and I think she's done physique as well. She's well known in Windsor. She's been in the fitness industry for years, but she didn't ask me for anything in return. She was happily open-armed, taught me a lot about the sport, kind of how to get myself conditioned, but really was passionate about it. And her passion to help me made me want to literally and I'll never forget her for that, pay it forward. And I knew I would eventually. But it was the first example of a woman being supportive of another woman, because it doesn't happen often. And that moment of my life changed dramatically, because I wanted to be that person too. And I wanted to pay forward, and I want to help women. And I wanted to empower women to know that they can become the best versions of themselves. And through my journey of competing after that show and a couple more times, and you just learn a lot about yourself when you go through these transitions, like these journeys to dial in for a show, mentally and physically. But the mental discipline and the sense of empowerment that you get, you want everybody to feel that.
Yeah, I mean, coming off of that 75 challenge I was talking about, I have a new appreciation for the discipline that goes into your sport. Or, I worked with a UFC fighter, and I watched her do it, but I don't think I totally appreciated what the 6-12 weeks leading into a fight and having to be at a certain weight and the discipline required in your training. And like, people just see the training, they don't understand the, like, now if you're talking, you said you're doing 3 workouts a day essentially yeah, right now, but you're also the time management that needs to happen to be a mother, to be an entrepreneur, to be in a relationship, let alone any other hobby you might have in your life that I don't know about, right? To make vegetables, whatever you're doing, right? So like, there's a lot that goes into that as far as time. It's a pretty interesting thing, and I like what you said about women empowering women, and I think we see it a lot in the men too, but it really stands out in women. It's like when you're in the gym next to somebody and you see somebody like the big guy doing the deadlifts, like instead of like being jealous or saying like, "Oh, that guy's on the juice" or whatever, like why don't you? What is he doing that you're not doing? Or what is he not doing that you're doing that's making him look different or her different? And I think that's really important. We try to do that in here. So like your mission, you'd said, and I've got it here. I don't want to bastardize this. So there it is. Change the climate of female generations of all kinds. So let's get into that, because I think it's a perfect kind of segue in.
Okay, so when I decided to kind of shift gears from my nursing profession into more fitness, passion oriented, so whatever that means, I did start this brand JackFit at the very beginning of COVID, not knowing really what COVID was even, but I knew that virtually a lot of my clients that don't live locally wanted me to train them on some level, and I was getting asked through Instagram like, hey, how do you do this? And you know what, I'm like thinking to myself, well, if they're asking me, they must see something that they're motivated by or inspired by. So I started thinking about that more, and not just thinking about it as like, oh, hey, that's cool. I'm like, how can I use that to help though? Like, how can I use that to leverage? And how can I, so it would be young girls, older women, women my age, women of all kinds and from everywhere. So I started designing nutrition plans and training plans, things that I know work for me. And then I would basically guide them and basically show them the concepts of self-care is essentially what that boils down to. And as I was able to guide and mentor these women to a better version of themselves, they started becoming, more confident with their partners, their relationships, their workplace, their this, their that, and all facets of their life were improving. And all they would say on these 15-minute virtual check-ins that I would do with them weekly is, they tell me all the benefits that they're having. But the physical results come with that. But I always say, if your mind's not right, the physical can't follow. At least it won't follow long term. Right. And I think that the clients that I started kind of at this really, really early stage of JackFit started to recognize was that we have a lot. There's reasons why we're not able to break through barriers or routines or habits that we have, because we're not willing to face what we don't like about ourselves. Or we're not willing to face the things that really trouble us, or we haven't resolved things. We've put them aside because we don't want to step out of comfort zone, right? For whatever reason. So I think, to be honest with you, women, younger generations, it helps them know that women of their 40s, like myself, they still have that stigma of, oh, once you become a mom, you're gonna have a mom bod, or moms shouldn't be sexy.
Yeah, fuck that.
Why can't mom rock a 6-pack sports bra walking down the street? Why does she have to be considered a MILF? Like, what is that? These stereotypes that we put on ourselves, and women against women. And the more I felt I was helping and being real and authentic with my clients, the more I was really believing that I can change or help change the climate of pitting women against each other, or finding a reason to be dramatic or hypocritical of each other. Why not support each other? The clients that I have since day one that are still there, it's like a strong community of women. And then when the new ones come into JackFit, it's like they're becoming those too. And it's slowly we're slowly helping and moving this. And it's not about, women being better than anything else. It's just women being the better version of themselves, so that we're all better together.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I don't know. This is nothing against anything else, but when you say you're a queen, everyone can be a queen. It doesn't have to be one person that gets to be a matriarch or the one that has to wear the crown. That's such an old school perception and mentality. And I feel like my the clients that I have, which I'm really lucky to have, by the way, they're solid. They're more motivation to me than I feel
right?
They,
yeah,
like it's true? I know, and people don't get
every
that.
Every client gets me adds a layer to who I am
for
and
sure.
what I can do for people too, because
Absolutely.
I learn from them.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, no. So it's just it's all around great. But and that statement about generation is that, I have one of my best friends. She's in her late 60s. And she's rocking it out. And I'm like, aesthetically, she looks better than most 20-year-olds I know. But she's got the zest and powerful and this ecstatic energy, this confidence about her that inspires me, right? Because I know that when I'm in my 60s and I'm in my 70s, life is just as great. It's just a different time of your life, right?
Yeah, for sure.
For
sure. When you talk on age, I can definitely relate to that. It's I start my 42nd year wanting to be better physically, and a lot of that comes aesthetically too than I was at 42, and I don't think that's ever going to stop in me, and I don't want it to ever stop. I don't think it shouldn't, especially shouldn't in women. And I agree with you said a lot about a very important thing you said is if you just keep putting things to the side, you never will completely grow. And maybe you can relate to this. My personal experience was, obviously I saw a lot of bad things when I was a policeman, right? And there's a lot of things that bothered me a lot. And I thought, okay, if I take this uniform off, if I stop hanging out with the policeman all the time, I just go to work, I'll be fine. Yeah. And then things stayed. The improvement wasn't happening. Quit my job, took the uniform off forever. Real good curve up, right? First it started with my health and fitness. Then it was okay, stop hanging out with police, leave work at work. Then it was leave the uniform, to leave it altogether. Still, those same problems would come back until I actually dealt with them, got them out, that's when the growth starts to happen.
Absolutely.
So it's like you can make these little jumps, and you can, you know, you can get a coach, you can add a different layer to your life, but if you don't fix what's way down in there,
it won't.
You'll never be right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what leaving that job kind of teaches you, and you can you can feel the vibrance that comes off of you right now, and I hope people feel that in me, and I think that's what I want to go back into those places where we used to work.
Yeah.
And help them
100%.
You know, like help them
100%.
So that they don't quit, because we need good nurses, we need good cops. We don't want people to do what you and I did, and not all of them have the option to walk away and find another passion. So
no, absolutely, and that's something that you're right. Like it's to have a passion but actually act on it are two different things for sure. It's funny you just mentioned something. So I feel though it's an awakening kind of has to happen on some level for a person to really kind of go, you know, I'm going to go for that. And if it was maybe your job was done being a police officer because you felt like you put in and you felt comfortable with what you did and how long you did it, or you felt good and it was just your time to move on. That's awesome, because not a lot of people know when their time is done with something. It's almost like they stay complacent and they feel like that, yeah, this is just the way it's supposed to be. Right? Yes. Isn't that how, and I feel like that's how a lot of people think, but it's like we build these invisible barriers, these concepts in our mind that we're like, okay, we're just maybe, you know, one dimension, or maybe there's two, but I'm comfortable with the one, so I'm going to stay over here.
Yes, you become that uniform, or you become your scrubs. Right.
Yes.
And then when you make a mention of it, people are like, what do you mean? What about the pension and the benefits?
I know. My dad
and the salary.
Yeah, my dad was the same. My dad goes, Jack. This is how I went, Jack. So you're not gonna be a nurse anymore? And I'm like, Dad, relax. Like, he goes, whoa, I don't know. You're my baby. I gotta figure out what's going on here. And I'm just like, oh my God, you're so typical. Yeah. So yeah, like my dad didn't understand, but you know what? He's supportive. He's just like, hey, that's Jack for you. So,
yeah, that's how my parents read it up too. I was terrified to tell my dad I was leaving the police department. I mean, my dad was a cop for 37 years.
That's what I was gonna say. Your dad was a cop. Yeah.
So and you know, and my mom was obviously a cop's wife for 30 something years. And when I went to them, both of them were like, oh, okay. I'm like, oh, okay. That's it? Yeah. Like, I thought there was going to be resistance. There was none. And, and I think Danny telling her dad was a little bit different. I think a dad seeing their daughter, and not to sound chauvinistic, but sending, and I mean, that is the truth, honestly. Like, I think it changed for Danny too, like going in when you have a family at home and going and putting your life on the line. Like, it was there's different stakes at risk.
For sure. Yeah, it's not about you anymore.
Being men and women, but I think there's a different innate in a mother than there is in a father, perhaps.
Yeah. You know, it's funny you say that, because you know, like being a single mom, I understand the importance of instilling all the values that I want them to have, coming from a woman's point of view. But I know their dad's good at, you know, whatever he sees from a male point of view. I know that he does his job to instill that in them. And it's so important, right?
Yeah, lean into your strengths.
Yeah, 100%. You have to. It's like, you know, they're only going to be young for so long. You have to mold them really quickly, right? Into like, you know, these ideas, so that, you know, when they get to these pre-teenage and they start talking back, you're like, what's going on?
Yeah, somebody just had a baby, a friend of mine. I'm like, oh, you know, the adage of it keeps getting better is absolutely true. I don't know, when does that, maybe at 13 it might not, though. I don't know. I have no idea, but right now it just keeps getting better
day by day. Right? I'm taking it day by day.
Yeah, so that's a good thing. I just put out a post, I don't know if you saw it as well. I said, you know, aggressively masculine, these are the traits I'm trying to raise in my sons, and then I'm trying to call them men. And I got a little bit of feedback from that,
you know,
from some women. I'm like, my point to them was like, don't hear what I didn't say. Like, this is actually coming from, I train primarily women all day long. I thought I'd be training athletes and SWAT guys.
Yeah.
I train women. The women are doing just fine.
Yeah.
You guys are stronger than you've probably ever been. I'm every day impressed by a woman's, you know, single moms of 2, moms of 3, hockey moms that are in here every day trying to improve themselves. Yeah. What I'm terribly disappointed is in my species, right? is the amount of men that are willing to just sit around and do nothing to improve themselves. Yeah. You know, like, and just be the same every day. And what I say about age is gravity. If you're going to see the same every day, it's actually going to pull you down slower. Yeah. Right? It's still going to pull you down. And that's what I'm trying to inspire in these men is like, hey, like, let's be more like them, maybe.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
start
like, let's
picking each
learn
other
from-
up, and
yeah.
let's like get better every day and
Yeah.
get healthy, get fit. Because
Yeah.
when you're healthy and fit, everything else seems to follow along.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like I feel like the number one thing that I try to tell any of my fitness clients is, when you wake up in the morning, the best thing you can do as a mom or as a dad or anybody that has another person that their life depends on you, is get up earlier, while they're
Yes.
sleeping. Put into yourself, invest into yourself, set the tone for the day.
Yes.
Because then anything else after that, you are ready to rock, crush, whatever you got to do to make it happen, because you have already invested in yourself, and you don't have this, all day long going through your head like, oh, I got to get this done. Get it done first thing in the morning.
Eat the frog.
Yeah.
Right.
Set the tone. Right.
Yeah, we've heard this a million times on you. This is awesome. So, yeah, I actually just had this conversation with somebody who's very close to me, who feels like their life was kind of spiraling out of control. And I'm like, why don't you just get up
Just
1
sit
hour,
down.
1 hour before, and do something for you?
Yeah,
It doesn't have
yeah.
to be exercise. It could be. I would love it to be exercise, but just have a coffee in the quiet and read a book.
Yeah.
And then when
Yeah.
your kids get up,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
welcoming them into that morning, instead of waking up behind the, like, snooze just went off again, and
Yeah.
now you're all 5 minutes behind, and then
Yeah.
that 5 minutes becomes 10 minutes. All you do is yell at them for that one. You talked about your kids in the morning,
Right. Yeah.
and that's what my kids are not homeschooled, so I get to do this all day. But
Yeah.
that hour in the morning was huge for me,
Yeah.
and so I was finding,
Yeah.
I was like, man, I'm like
Yeah.
chasing them. It's
Absolutely.
not them, it's you.
Yeah.
You're the adult, you're the leader, you're
Yes.
the mother or the
Lead by
father or the
example.
both, right? So
Yeah.
I love that you said that.
Well, and the funny thing is, it's when you put into yourself. I give the analogy to my clients as like your self-care bucket. When you put into it every morning with your meditation, your yoga practice, or if it's just your black coffee, reading your best book, cardio, working out, whatever it is you choose to do for your self-care, do it consistently. And every day, if you put in, you'll have enough to give throughout the day without feeling crusty, right?
Yeah.
You won't feel empty. Then you don't resent, and then negativity never really surface, really. Like, it might get to a little bit there, but if you do it every day, you're always going to have reserve, because if you do it every day, you'll always have leftover.
Yes.
And then things just become a little bit better, a little bit more easier to handle. The things that normally would kind of get to you maybe easily aren't getting to you as easy, because you're putting that self-love and that self-care in. And that's huge.
Yeah, when the storm
Huge.
hits, you're like bulletproofing yourself.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
that attack or
Yep.
whatever it might be, or that big obstacle, and that's different for everybody. Like, I used to always, people think that because I saw these terrible things, but like my seeing the terrible thing could be the same as the school teacher who's late on the report, getting the report cards in.
Yeah.
It's whatever
Yes.
your top level of stress has been is
Right.
what that will be. That is a great way of looking at it. We call it here the bank account. Like,
Yeah.
the more deposits you make, the more if you make a deposit every day in your nutrition,
Yeah.
and then you have a donut,
Yeah.
you could afford the donut.
For
Whereas
sure.
if somebody was always in the red, then they don't have money for a donut.
Yeah.
So that's why your body is
100%.
not adjusting, or the same, I think, with your mental well-being, everything. Mm-hmm. So yeah, man, I love this conversation. This is good so far, right, Herb? Yeah. I was worried we were having too good of a conversation downstairs that I wouldn't be able to continue on. I want to go a little. We try to avoid the getting into like the dogmatics, I guess, of nutrition. And
Yeah.
nutrition's not my strength. Danny does that all for me, but I'm a meat pusher. That sounds offside, but
It's okay.
I'm a meat guy.
Yeah,
So
for
anyways,
sure.
vegan, what brought this on, and was it a hard adjustment, easy adjustment? Like, do you make your clients become vegans when they
No,
sign up?
and
Like,
here's the thing.
That's probably a question people might have if they're looking to get your service too.
Right. So, I'm not a self-proclaimed vegan. I'm a plant-based athlete.
Okay.
There's a difference.
Well, yeah, I think that's important too. I
Yeah,
think people
well, and
want to
this is a
label themselves as
misconception.
this or this.
Yeah.
When it's like, I eat.
Yeah. So no, I want to make it very clear. My focus of what I eat and what I would classify myself as plant-based athlete or plant-based eater. So the difference for me, and I can probably describe this because I do have some of my clients who are like, I was looking into maybe transitioning into plant-based, but I don't know what that is. I know it sounds like plants, but does that mean just plants? So you can be primarily a plant-based eater. When you're plant-based, you can incorporate meat if you want to, or maybe it's just fish.
Just means you start with plants, right?
Right. Your diet, nutrition comes based from plants. I happened to a couple of years ago, actually it was my last show that I did, so it was probably 2017. I competed as plant-based. I cut out meat out of my diet. I read this book from Dr. Michael Greger that just rocked me to the core. And it did because I'm, for one, I don't know about you, I'm very visual when it comes to learning. So for me to read a big book with a bunch of words, that doesn't do it for me. But I do relate to stats, and when someone says, listen, I've taken a study from a person from India and from North America, swapped them over 20 years, researched their diet and seen what kind of changes were made in their body because of their surrounding their diet. So basically this doctor was, and the title of the book is called How Not to Die. But it gave you...
That's dramatic.
Yeah, it gave you evidence-based actual facts as to what foods do for you, what their intention is in your body. So from things like nutrition facts to chronic disease management, from how to lower cholesterol with certain food, and just like more medical, I guess, geared to, as opposed to this is what I've done, try it kind of a book. So I took a lot of information from that book when I first came across that a couple of years ago. I knew that competing the years that I had, there's a lot of chicken in your diet. Anybody that's competed knows that there's chicken, more chicken, and chicken.
And egg whites.
So I probably should have grown feathers at some point. But why I kind of came into this gradual transition is because at one point I was like, you know what? Every time I eat meat, I just feel like, and this could be something too after having children, because your body changes dramatically after you've given birth, right? Like your palate changes, your hormones change, your body is no longer kind of pre-baby. So like a lot of things have changed. You have to get adjusted to that and you have to adapt. So when I would eat meat, I'd find that it just was off. And I was the type of girl that I wanted my steak medium rare. Like I liked it bleeding into my potatoes. I liked the taste of meat. So it was never for me about the chain of human chain or whatever, that survival chain or anything. Right. It's not about me trying to save the animals in the world. It was about me being a little bit more clear as to what my body was telling me and how it was telling me. So when I was eating meat, I wasn't digesting it properly. I was having like distension. My bone, like if I would go for an early morning run, I was finding that just certain things were aching. So I slowly started to cut things out, kind of based on the book that I read and just other literature that I've come across. And, like what I feel like when I'm passionate about something, I want to just delve into it to kind of get the most I can out of it, to be at least educated or just take whatever I can from it. So I started finding that my body started kind of responding differently, better. I was getting stronger. So I first I cut out beef, and then I cut out chicken, and then I didn't have any meat at all. And at one point, I would say I do enjoy having fish. I love having seafood in my diet, but I do know the difference between it tasting like fresh or good, like when you're in the Caribbean, or when I go to Portugal with my ex, and like you would be eating meals days on end from fresh right from the ocean. Like that is amazing.
Can't beat that,
right?
Yeah.
You can't beat that. So there was a gradual transition for me to kind of fall into where I am today. So the answer to my long-winded answer to your question,
that's what we're looking for. It wouldn't be much of a podcast if we didn't get long-winded answers. So that's good.
That's it. Is that So right now I would say I will eat fish still, and I will have egg whites. I pick and choose when I can do that. When I feel like I need it, I take more of an intuitive approach to my diet, because I'm now very good at reading what my body is telling me is the only difference. And that doesn't come with, that's not magic. That just comes with daily self-care and practice of knowing what right?
I think that's important. Like there's a female that comes here, and she, was having some reactions to stuff, and it was like, she just cut out things that we would all classify as healthy, and learned that was what was triggering, some negative reactions to things. And then boom, progress. And even Dani herself, who, prescribes nutrition to people, prescribes eggs to people, but herself doesn't react well to them. I think that's what you said about what's going into your body becomes important. Like, for me, it's not like I'm not eating meat because I do love the taste of meat, obviously, but like it's because of how I feel like I perform. And I was not using carbs I wasn't using carbs the way I do now. And now I feel without like a lot of carbs, I don't feel good. And if you still looked at my plate, it is really, the bigger portion of my plate would be vegetables,
Right.
like, cause,
Yeah, plant-based, yeah.
I'm eating,
Which is
so,
important, yeah,
I
for
guess
sure.
you could call that plant-based, like,
Yeah.
but I'm not thinking that way, and I think people have to get that out of their mind
Yeah.
when they are choosing what feeds
Yes.
them. And like, also when you look at somebody, it's like, okay, they want carnivore or they want vegan, well, they were coming off the couch and went vegan, carnivore, whole food, flexible, whatever they did, there would be drastic differences when
Yeah.
if you're somebody who has 50 pounds to lose.
Yes.
You're gonna see it because they've cut out a lot of stuff, fasting, all these things.
100%.
Then it's about
Yeah.
that next level of what works for you.
Yeah, it's a recipe for you, and I think the most key thing that anyone should really try to practice is consistency with it. So I feel that we want everything yesterday, right? We're a
Yeah.
culture.
Oh, yeah.
We want, the world's moving fast, and we want results. And because we get everything at our fingertips whenever we want to have that same kind of response when it comes to our nutrition and our body and fitness and goals and all that. But again, that can't happen unless you're consistent. And if you're only trying to do it temporarily for just an acute goal or for a short-term thing, you're doing yourself a disservice, because everyone knows what a rebound effect is, right? So you cut out all of these things that that your body's used to having, and all of a sudden you reintroduce it again. Your body's gonna take that and then some, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, it's an intuitive approach. It's functional food that will serve your body purpose to do whatever you're asking it to do, whatever you're demanding it to, right?
Yeah.
So functional food is a huge thing.
Yeah. Food is fuel, man, for
100%.
everything. So
Yeah.
going right from the food being function to, I think it's important that, we're talking about strong women and we're talking with you, and that is your primary, goal in life. And I think that's what you exude.
Thanks.
From your Instagram, and this might just be me looking at Instagram, because Instagram is just a whole other world, but
Yeah, it is.
it seems to be
Full-time job.
yeah, it's like
Full-time job.
strength training seems to be your, maybe not outside of show, but strength training seems to be your primary go-to.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Love lifting.
I love, so please,
Love
like,
lifting.
you're
Love.
somebody, like, you're a bikini model. You've been
Yeah.
in magazines,
Yeah.
and I'm still to this day we fight this battle in here with, like, strength training is the primary.
Yes,
like,
ladies.
so-
Yes.
Please
Yes.
back us up. This is a
My
bikini
goodness.
model telling you this. Please listen.
Yeah.
It's not me, the meathead, saying it now.
It's just Jack. Not a bikini model. So here's the thing. The misconception, and I mean, if I've been asked this a million times, I'm probably under exaggerating. Seriously. Well, Jack, if I lift, I don't want to get bulky.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about that. Why do you think that way? Because sometimes when people say things, I don't think they understand what really what they mean to say. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's either a fear or an apprehension, or it's just a lack of knowledge or something, right? But when it's about women and lifting, the sole purpose to lift a weight is to use and engage your muscle, right? So when you do that, those little tiny fibers rip in your muscle, and then they repair, and then you do it again, and then consistently. So you're building muscle on top of muscle, and essentially over time, if you're consistent, you will gain some size. But I think women, and I think this is where we're going. Most women think they're going to get big and bulky and look like kind of like a gorilla, almost like kind of look.
They think the only way to train is every day, just get on that treadmill every single day, and that's all they want to do,
Right.
or get their heart rate to some accelerated
Right.
thing on a daily basis. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the bulk is the number
Right.
one fear, I think.
Bulk comes from poor diet, right? Let's be honest. A bulky look comes from their diet probably not being, if they're complaining that they're bulky, it's because their diet's not where it needs to be to get a desired effect, to look leaner. That's what bulk is. Muscle is not bulk. If you have, and I give this example a lot, if you have two women that walk into a room with a red dress, one's wearing a size 2 at, say, maybe 110 pounds, and the other one's a size 2 that's maybe 135 pounds. And the 135 pound woman probably will look curvier and probably very compact and tight, right? Size 2, 130. Then you have the one that's 110 and smaller looking. The other one's probably going to look very lean, which is a great look. But the one that's 130 something pounds that's wearing a size 2, all that tells, because if you're a size 2 and you wear a certain size, that means that you're pretty small. So I'm going to say if that person weighs more on the scale, they have more muscle density, which is going to give them the illusion of looking very tight and very toned. So you'll have more of a curve, more of a, a shapely look. Women desire to have the nice butt. They want to have nice legs. They want to have
and good
a
for you
toned
guys
back.
for wanting these things.
Right? No.
Yes.
But you know what? Women work out not for, I should say, not, I can't speak for all women. Most women work out because they want to feel good about themselves. They're not trying, not that conception of, oh, I'm working out for my boyfriend because he likes it. No. I'm sure there may be some people, but eventually through time and maturity, a woman understands that she's doing things for herself because she wants to feel good about herself. Right?
Yes.
And it's not for us to prove it to their reasons to anyone. It should be just about them, right? So weightlifting is going to give you a shape, a tone. If you desire to have that peach booty like everyone, attributes the Hump Wednesday about, the shoulders, Angela Bassett, when she played that Tina Turner role. I don't know if you ever saw Angela Bassett. She played Tina Turner in this like documentary, and her body was phenomenal. I'd never seen shoulders on a woman so amazing. And I'm like, that's weightlifting. You know what I mean? Like when you look at someone and they're like, oh my goodness, look at that body. That's weightlifting. That's using your body, pushing weight to gain some lean muscle tissue.
Right. And especially as you age.
Right.
Like
muscle maturity.
I always use the example. I live on Front Road, and it's it's got a nice waterfront view, so everybody runs there. Mm-hmm. And you see, now I've been there 7 years, and you see the people, and you're like, you can actually watch as the consistent cardio is kind of deteriorating at their muscle as they age. Yeah. Right, and it's going to draw on you a little bit quicker. Not that running's not healthy for you, and I'm not talking about anything like that.
Yeah, it's a balance, right? It's a balance of everything. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about, you might not, you don't need to weight lift 7 days a week.
Right.
Three should be fine.
Yeah, 3 to 4 days a week.
Right.
A couple hit sessions, and maybe a steady state, and you're going to be in a
100%.
great place.
Right.
Like,
That
well-rounded.
In conjunction to a proper functional nutrition, plant-based diets, things that are going to service your body, that's important, right? But weightlifting does a little bit more for women than just giving them an appearance of having a strong physique, right? Or a sexy or toned physique. It helps them with their posture. And when someone has posture, it's like that energy. You're like, oh, that person's emoting energy that like I kind of want to be around. People like positive energy. People are drawn to that. People are drawn to confidence. People are drawn to, I want some of that because it seems like they're doing it a little bit better than I am. I want to do that too, and it helps with osteoporosis and all the other degenerative things that happen with the aging process, right? Our bone density and all that other stuff. And I tell my mother that too. I'm like, because if you have any issues or chronic, issues with bone loss, osteoarthritis, or anything of that nature, or autoimmune, that will help you too as well, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So there's so many benefits.
I believe in the whole foods training. Yeah. And then my mom she lifts weights, which is I think it's so important. Yeah, my mom is like a steady garage gymmer.
Is she?
Yeah.
So she comes here?
Yeah, she comes here. She's been doing she's taken advantage of since we've been able to offer these services because she lives in Windsor. She's now just basically follows us online and does her workout in her basement every day.
Good for her.
It is crazy. And to me, the number one, looking at from a man's point of view and being around so many women all the time, it's not all those other shapely, all those great things, right? But it's the confidence. Yeah. It's the mindset that kind of shifts when it's like, they're in the, I've got some guys come in here and, I think they have a preconception because we have so many women in here that I don't want to get weaker, they say. Right. Which is always a giggle in my head because I'm like, yeah, you fucking strong, man. I'm like, why don't you go over there and lift with Trish? Or go over there and lift with this person. We'll show you. See how many push-ups you can do compared to Danny. Go. Right? But it's the, we had a class in here a couple weeks ago and somebody made a comment and all the, it was primarily women. It's one of our busiest classes and they all went down to their sports bras. It was hot as hell in here. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't about anything other. There was all shapes and sizes doing this, and for me that was it was a huge win because of the confidence. To do that in front of a bunch of people, including me and a few other men, it was about nothing other than confidence and people, and really just wanting to get after it and bang some weights around with some heavy metal blaring or whatever was going. It was just it was an awesome feeling. It was an awesome energy. I think it was a win for us over 7 years of trying to conquer these years of whatever preconceptions that we've women have been dealing with. And
No, absolutely. Like to go into Good Life gym and be able to feel like you can rock a sports bra and a pair of like leggings or whatever. For a younger woman, because the confidence sometimes is not there early on in life, it's like, oh, I would never do that. As you get older, and it's not we've all heard that term like cougar or whatever. When women get to a certain age, it's like, their confidence skyrockets and all that.
Yeah.
Yes, it does, but that will only come if they're putting into themselves. And if someone feels the need or the confidence to rock something out, whether they're a mom of 10, not a mom, they just lost their goal weight, or maybe they were 300 pounds last year. Like you had said earlier, why not wink at them and be like, you go for it? Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, give that person the credit or the value that they put into themselves and let them know.
Yeah. Like one of the things we do here, and it's amazing to me, is like how this affects people is when, like you said about the McDonald's person this morning, it's when you just look at somebody who walks in and you say, you look great today. Yeah. And they're like, oh, well, thank you. Right. And it's not coming from a place of like hitting on you or creepy.
Absolutely.
It's like, you look great today. You're really working hard and you look great. Good for you. Yeah. And I think that's like something that's missing, and we should do more of that. And that's really what you're talking about. Yes. Woman on woman. Cause I think hearing that from another woman probably even means more than hearing it from a guy. Absolutely. Absolutely. You can answer that for me, cause I'm not a woman, I guess, but yeah.
No, it's true. Sometimes, like, I mean, it depends on where you're at, but like we were talking about when I got McDonald's this morning, and I was saying how, the lady had
coffees, not egg McMuffins.
Black coffee.
Yes.
Large black coffee, please. So she had I didn't know who she was. I didn't see her name tag, but she obviously was wearing the uniform of McDonald's. So I walk in and she holds the door open for me, but she really didn't have to, because I mean, it was like a couple seconds where I was walking, but she was being kind. And I said, thank you, I appreciate it. And there was a little bit of lineup. So I walk up, and then this woman just like practically jumps behind the counter, and she's like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to make you wait. And I'm like, you didn't make me wait at all. And there was 4 other people, it was a busy time obviously in the morning, doing their thing, but she was trying to just please customers because she didn't want to see them sitting there wait. But I'm like, you were just at the door. And I'm like, now you're at the register. I'm like, geez, well, they need to give you a raise around here. I'm like, are you the manager? She's like, no. I'm like, they should make you manager. She's like, oh, thank you, that made my day. And I'm like, but you know what, here's the thing, she was busting her ass. And you know what? Whether she's told or not told, I just was like, why not?
Yeah. Why not make other people smile?
Right?
It makes you feel good.
For sure.
It's like a ripple effect.
Yeah. And then she gave me my order, and she was just like, I really appreciate that. And I go, no, thank you. Like, it's just a little bit, it's a small act of kindness. But you know what? Especially when it's, and I know that this sounds crazy, but when you're a woman and you're giving another woman a compliment, you're slowly changing the climate of a lot of stuff that's kind of been imposed and practiced for years. Just maybe not supporting each other, maybe feeling like we're kind of all like we're running against something into the finish line, but we're really not. Like, we're all doing our own thing. And I always say, stay in your own lane. Do what you're really good at, so that way I can come over to you and help you, or you can help me out when I'm not good at what I'm doing over here, and vice versa. And I can exchange my craft, and we can craft and help each other grow together. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a part where I'm really trying to kind of like, especially with my clients, is get them to that point where, they're extending that to the next person that comes to them for help or guidance, or,
Good. I love to hear that. And I just think it's so great to see that people, we're not the same, you and I. We don't have the same nutrition goals. We don't have, but when it comes into this health and wellness, almost every person I talk to, it's at the end of the day, it's all about that. Yeah. It's like improving other people, and at the same time, hopefully you improve yourself. And like this whole podcast is do more, be more. It means do more for others, be more for yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's, I think, the great way to kind of like end this thing. I think that's awesome. Yeah. How do people get a hold of you?
Well,
shouldn't have to think about that.
Yeah. You're
an entrepreneur. Come on.
Yeah. Depends. Well, there's 2 different ways. So if it's for fitness, it's JACFIT.ca on my website. I also do medical aesthetics. My company is called North Face Beauty.
Oh, right. Actually, Danny told me she thought you were into that now.
Yeah. So that's my nursing gig. But because this was more focused on the fitness wellness. But if there's ever any questions, and I always tell people this, if there's ever a question, ask. Because you know what? I started out by asking a lot of questions, maybe annoying to some people because I wanted to know answers to everything. But if I had a question, that means someone else thought it before too, right? So I always tell them, you know, if you have a question, if it's related to anything you think I can help you with, reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and I'll be more than happy to, you know, if I don't respond right away, I will, because I really make a point to kind of connect with people, to pay it forward. So yeah, hit me up there, and I'll be happy to help out anytime I can.
So we all improve. Ask
Right?
questions, ask questions, ask questions.
Yeah.
And today's challenge for anybody listening, let's go on what Jack said. Let's pay another person. So if you're a woman,
Yes.
seek out a woman, pay her a compliment. And if you're anybody else, you know, just give somebody a compliment today
Absolutely.
and make somebody feel better. And then just notice how that makes you feel too on the inside.
For
so
sure.
yeah,
Awesome.
let's call that a wrap. Irv.
Good talk, Tone.
Cheers. It was awesome. Thanks for coming on. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Okay.
Now's the time to do more and be more.